Welcome back to episode 12 of the Union 0430. Just like always, I'm Damien here in Kingston, Ontario. We've got Mark up in Renfrew in the beautiful Ottawa Valley, and Dave down on the Bruce Peninsula in Kincardine. And you know what? Every week I say it, boys. I say it. How lucky are we that we extend invitations to people and they jump on board and they agree to come and chat with us. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got a true celebrity here with us tonight. In my mind, well, in all our minds, really. We've got Mr. Jeff Coates. Listen to this. I wrote this up all about you, Jeff. Please allow me to introduce to you to the Crown Royal drinking, magnificent beard wearing, Chesapeake Bay Wanderer, Mr. Pitboss Waterfowl himself, Mr. Jeff Coates. How's that for an intro?
That is an intro, man. Good evening to you all. Thank you very much.
So when Dave told me, you know, Dave is really the one that the catalyst for this and reached out to you and got you on and stuff. When Dave told me that you were coming on, I was like, oh man, I got a million questions to ask this guy. I've been following your social media. I think it was probably around the time last year when you hit PEI. It was when I really started following you, when you found that Texas Mecca of Crown Royal there.
Biggest bottle I've ever seen.
So like we do on most shows, I usually kick off the first question and then we'll roll from there. So first question is tonight, you know, before we hit record, Mark and I had said that we had grown up on the big water. That's my 7 o'clock on the dot, eh? That's my Bud Light buzzer for thank you for all the first responders up in Canada. So Mark and I grew up on the big water in Newfoundland up in the North Atlantic, and especially for me, like at 13, 14 years old, I was in a lobster boat, so I understand big water and I understand working in it and stuff. But sea duck hunting wasn't a big thing up where I'm from. We never seen the numbers of birds, and you know what? I think everybody spent enough time on the water. When it came to work, they definitely weren't going back out on the water for recreation, right? So yeah. I guess, you know, with the Chesapeake being, in my opinion, probably one of the bucket list hunts for a North American waterfowler, you know, talk to us about your earliest memories of the Chesapeake and what really, you know, it's not a friendly bay to be hunting in by no means. Yes. So, you know, talk us a little bit about the Chesapeake and your early and what got you into it.
Yeah, well, thank you. And again, thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. I was actually born in the town of Havre de Grace, which is the first town on the Upper Bay, the Susquehanna Flats, where all the sink boxes and the market gunning way back in the day, all, you know, it's the self-proclaimed decoy capital of the world. So that's where I was born. Real quick, you know, the Chesapeake Bay is the largest freshwater estuary in North America. The Susquehanna River, which comes by Havre de Grace and actually starts the bay, it starts way up in upstate New York, big drainage area through New York, comes down through Pennsylvania, you know, does a little bit of a turn, and it is the head of the Chesapeake Bay. So then you've got about, I'm going to say 175 miles. I could be incorrect there. I probably should know the right number, but it depends on what path you take. But Chesapeake Bay runs all the way down into Virginia, and then the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay in Virginia, there's a Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel. It's 20 miles across, so it's a bridge with two tunnels that you go across, and that's where the Chesapeake Bay is a big body of water. So really, I think probably more of my first recollections of the bay itself was really more of just slightly up from Havre de Grace is the Conowingo Dam, and it's the town of Conowingo is actually underwater there. I think the water level is 150 feet, but they flooded it. The dam was built. My grandfather actually did not work on the dam, but kind of worked for the company that got everybody there. And I don't would have been the I want to say it was the Philadelphia Electric Company. I think way back in the day. But anyway, I'm rambling. I was just always amazed that there's this town that's flooded in 1920 underneath. You know, it's at the bottom of the river kind of thing. So that's not right on the Chesapeake Bay, but you know, it's the start of the Chesapeake Bay. So way back in the day, I guess that's my earliest recollection of like kind of where I lived, where I grew up, where I was born, and what was what. So I guess some of it too is like, you know, if you have, I always say as I get older, like things are all relative. So if it's something that you grew up with or something that you know or something in your backyard, like it's maybe not that big of a deal, you know, much like seafood. I mean, we love seafood, but you know, seafood's kind of really everywhere, right? Well, somebody comes from, you know, Ohio or Illinois, seafood's a big deal because, you know, they don't get, you know, quote, fresh seafood, right? That's right. So it's kind of, maybe the Chesapeake Bay is a little bit like that, where, you know, kind of just because, you know, I didn't know any different, it just, you just kind of take, I won't say you take it for granted, but it's there, and it is what it is, you know. But yeah, so as you get down where I first started guiding sea ducks, it was 9 miles across, so you could see from the eastern shore, you could see the western shore of the bay. But when you look north and south, it's just water. You don't see any land.
I have literally zero experience with the west coast of North America, but on the east coast, and you've been up in the PEI, and you've witnessed that East Coast Canada hospitality. I think it's pretty safe to say that same mentality keeps heading down south. So in your neck of the woods, would you say it's pretty much the same when it comes to that East Coast hospitality, and everybody is really just laid back? Nobody is in a rush. That's the way it is here in Canada. If you're in a rush and you're on the East Coast, you're probably going to end up getting mad. Yeah,
for sure. It's I got to tell you too. So, you know, there's the western shore of Maryland and the eastern shore of Maryland. So it's called the Delmarva Peninsula. So you have the state of Delaware, you have the Delaware Bay, Delaware and Maryland come together. You got the Chesapeake Bay, and then when you go south out of Maryland is the peninsula of eastern shore of Virginia. So you got the Delmarva, and yeah, you know, life on the Delmarva Peninsula is much different. And when you go across the Bay Bridge, you know, to Annapolis, that's a totally different world there. I mean, it's not that we're not getting, you know, not that there's not a population here, but it's nothing like, you know, the Baltimore Washington corridor over there. You know, it is totally different.
Mm-hmm. So then, I guess your family, so your grandfather, your father, your brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, all that stuff, was, you know, the sea duck guiding, hunting, was that something that was bred into you right from an early age, or did you sort of kind of go out on your own with this?
Nah, I mean, pretty much in everything that I've done, I seem to be, I kind of call myself like, you know, the jack of all trades and like a master of none kind of thing. And I've always had, not sometimes multiple people, but I've always had at least one person that was been my mentor of whatever I've done, you know, whether it's sea duck hunting, dogs, decoy carving, whatever it might be. I've always had one fishing. I've always had saltwater fishing, especially. I've always had like one person that kind of like stepped up and was my mentor. And older fella, Donald Hughes, has passed away now. But Donald was so I'm actually talking to you just outside Ocean City in Berlin. And if you run across about an hour, you Chesapeake Bay is it's an easy drive, and the county of Dorchester and the town of Cambridge is there, and that's where Donald grew up. And basically, it was a fellow that I guess he was probably 15 years older, probably, I guess, than myself. And he'd been in the Coast Guard and, you know, kind of been around. I won't say he'd been around the world, but he'd definitely been to Alaska. Had the opportunity to actually live there for a while. And he thought with 3 daughters, and Alaska is not the place to have 3 daughters. So he came back to Maryland. But it's way back in the infancy of the internet. This would have been like in 1993, 94. I had no idea what the internet was. I truly didn't. Started playing around with it a little bit. There was, I guess it would be much like Google today. It was called Alta Vista or Ultra Vista. I can't remember the exact pronunciation, But I started typing in, you know, like Maryland waterfowl hunting. Donald Hughes popped up. He had his little, he was a blogger, vlogger, you know, way back in the day before anybody was really doing it. And he's a guy that hunted basically from September 1st. At the time, Snow Goose closed March 10th. So pretty much September 1st to March 10th, there was something waterfowl related that you can hunt here in Maryland, in Delaware and in Virginia. So, you know, he just kind of took me under his wing. We hit it off. He was a little more on the disabled side. So there was a, up in Delaware, Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge. And again, kind of to date myself, the snow goose limit, it was a 4-bird limit back in the day. And, but I loved going in there, and he liked going in there, but he couldn't really get in there anymore because it was a little bit of a harder hunt. And so he kind of made the deal. He's like, you can hunt all my places that I got. He says, just take me into Bombay Hook with you when you go. So we just hit it off really well. And, you know, one thing led to another. And probably one of my first sea duck experiences with Donald was it was October 10th. We shot wood duck. Quick little drive down to where he kept his boat, jumped in his boat. And it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. We got out on the bay, and he said, like, I was like, man, there's like no birds. It's warm. He's like, just hang on, man. They'll be here. And all of a sudden, here's, you know, Scoter flying up the bay, and that's probably one of my first hunts that I can remember, a good hunt with Donald back in the day. And he just said, hey, man, like you should guide. You can do this. Nobody else is doing this. You know, people are guiding for geese. People are guiding for all kinds of other stuff. He's like, there's not anybody doing sea ducks. He's like, you know, you need to get on this. You need to learn the internet, and you need to learn it. And so that's kind of the Donald Hughes.
Wow.
Is why I'm you know me and why I'm talking to you today.
Wow. So this is the 12th episode of the union that we've done. And every episode I've said, I'm only where I am because I surround myself with good people. And that sounds exactly like what, oh, we lost them. Oh, no, there. Oh,
phone rang.
But yeah, that sounds exactly like yourself. You surrounded yourself with good people, and you know, and you got to where you are. I know Dave is just itching to get a question in on you, so I'm going to shut up for. Yeah, go for it.
I want to say one more thing about Donald. He told me he was full of useless knowledge, but I really enjoyed his useless knowledge. Everything he would tell me, you know, I tried to absorb and try to remember and use to this day. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
So when and how did you make that transition into making your decoys? Because I always watch your show, like your Instagram and your YouTube, watching making decoys. And how'd you get into that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I got into it. The Havre de Grace Decoy Festival back in the day was much larger than what it is today. But it would have been probably in 1992 or so that when I started to try to make a decoy. And I'd make one of this, one of that. There wasn't really any rhyme or reason to what I was doing. I just wanted to be busy and try to carve a duck. And but the Havre de Grace Decoy Show, every Sunday morning they have a rig contest. So it made me carve at least 6 of I had to need 6 birds. I had to carve at least 6, and 2 of them had to be 10s. And it would have been in 94, I believe it is. It was black ducks. So I'm thinking, hey man, you know, black ducks have got to be probably one of the easiest, you know, kind of one of the easier birds to paint out there. And so I just jumped in and you know, went there and my next mentor of sorts, man, he let me know how bad my birds were. So I kind of got scolded for showing up with these things. And again, it was like, you know, my first attempt to enter a contest, and 2 older guys kind of put their shoulder, you know, arm around my shoulder saying, that's just George. Don't worry about it. He means well, but you know, he's a little on the rough side. But later on, you know, George is inviting me over to his home, told me to bring, you know, video camera, picture with notepads, recorder, whatever. And he got me dialed in. I don't think that my carving was such the problem as my painting was. So he really got me dialed in on my contemporary style painting. Pat Vincenti from Havre de Grace kind of got me, you know, more into the actual physical carving of it.
So how long does it take you to make one of these decoys for like a competition now, or do you still compete?
Yeah, I haven't entered things in quite a while. With COVID, I was supposed to be the honorary chairman for the festival back in May, and the festival didn't happen. But I was gonna, just because I was gonna be there and do, you know, and be a part of it, I was gonna enter a few birds there. A lot of things in my life, like we'll say that I reached the pinnacle, but like once I win a few things, like kind of set that aside. I was a big drag racer way back in the day, and I won a big race, and then I kind of like, you know, okay, let's find something else to do. So kind of with carving was like that. I won a couple best of shows, and then I was like, yeah, I like carving, but I didn't, you know, different interests in, you know, dogs and things. You know, you go different paths, and so anyway, I still enjoy carving today, but to answer your question, how long does it take to carve a bird? Yeah, I guess I'd have to guesstimate, you know, depends on what the bird is, but probably, you know, good 7, 8 hours kind of thing. But I don't really sit and carve one start to finish. I'll do all the bodies. I do heads. You know, it's kind of I won't say a assembly line process, but I just don't sit and make one bird. You know, my stuff's not that fancy to begin with. And I'm not a very fancy carver, you know. Yeah. I don't really consider myself to be an artist.
I still remember that one video of you when you're cutting the big log with your circular saw, and you flip it over and you're like, you probably shouldn't do it this way, but and then you cut it again. It was good. Yeah. So have you dabbled in any other woodworking for duck hunting? Like, have you tried making your own calls or anything else like that?
No, not calls. Not really calls. I mean, if anything, I'd probably have interest in trying to build a boat that I haven't. Kind of a side note to all this with saltwater fishing, and if I had, but it would take money too. But if I had like the location and the time, I'd love to try to build an offshore fishing boat. It would take me a long time, and I would enjoy the process. You know, it would be a long time for me to get it done, but you know, boat building would probably be a little bit more than call making. And I did in a different life. I refinished furniture and did a little bit of woodworking there. So I mean, I kind of, like I just told you, I drag race, so I can rebuild. You know, maybe with a touch up of reading and looking at a few things, I can rebuild a big block Chevrolet. You know, kind of, it's like the kind of I learned better like if like going to George Williams or Pat Vincenti. If I sit and I watch what they do, yeah, I think I can try to, you know, emulate that. And I don't know what kind of learner that's called. But I'm much better about you showing me and me learning from that versus, you know, sitting down and reading about it. You know, I mean, I read a lot on the internet, but honestly, and I go to YouTube to watch. I want somebody to show me, you know, versus reading about it.
Yeah, and then you do it yourself, right? Learn to do by doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Hands on.
Yep.
Yeah, a visual learner, I believe, is what the term is. Listen, you got to tell us about that beauty of a boat you got last year. Is that the biggest that because I did Banks built your last boat, right?
For sale?
It is for sale. You know about
is it?
Yeah.
It needs a good home. I only have one boat lift, so I can't have two boats.
Oh man. But
yeah, so Steve Hoover, Duckwater Boats in Ohio, you know, he's termed it that it is the world's largest duck boat. So it's 32 feet long. It's bigger than any fishing boat we've had.
Wow.
It's a long one.
That's almost twice as big as an 18.5 footer.
Almost.
So one of our buddies that come on the show, his name is Phil, and a couple episodes ago he just kept dropping every couple minutes that his boat is 18.5 feet, right? And he was like, I got an 18.5 foot boat. So at the last few episodes, we've been riding them pretty hard over. So, and then you just drop a 32 footer on top of them. So
it's hall number 2, Rod Merritt up in Maine. He got the first one, and Steve's talking about it. He said he had somebody interested in a third one. So I'm sure there'll be a few more as time goes on.
What do you got pushing that?
It's a 350 Suzuki.
Nice.
Nice.
Very nice.
I probably don't, honestly, I could get away with a smaller motor, but you know, it is fun. A little side note to that, the Suzuki 350 has 2 props that counter rotate.
Oh, the counter rotating, yeah.
Especially in reverse, I do have much on the fishing. We had a 29-foot center console we just sold. It had the same motor, the Suzuki 350. In reverse, you have much more control for sure.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Favorite bird to hunt, Jeff?
Man, I guess I'd have to say brant, because I want to go to Mexico. Black brant is on my list. and yeah, I enjoy, I enjoy Scoter too. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I've sea duck hunted many East Coast, West Coast,
Yeah.
Alaska, the St. Paul Island, shot kings. I mean, if things work out, we're supposed to go back again this year. It's been about 10 years since I've been there, so kind of want to, Karen has not been there, so she's going to go with me.
Nice.
Go check that out. But yeah, I think again, I've shot a lot of sea ducks over the years, but I think probably a Brant would be. If I was going to go, even here, if I was going to go fun hunt something, I probably want to shoot a Brant.
We're starting to see Brant up around here a little more over the last couple of years, especially along that St. Lawrence Seaway, right? Starting to see a little bit more, but I don't know. I keep seeing pictures of those canvasbacks, and man, I'd love to get a canvasback.
Good friend Jeff Wood from PEI came down. His grandfather back in the day on PEI, there actually was. He tells me there was a pretty good population of Brant back in the day. I think maybe there's a few over Nova Scotia, but doesn't seem to be a whole lot. He came down, shot Brant. Actually, his very first bird, it was banded, so that was a bonus. Then they wanted to go shoot canvasback, and man, it was right at the end of January. It was very mild and warm, and I could go show them. I could show them a lot of canvasback, but they never even got to raise their gun on a canvasback. But yeah, man, I guess you could argue what the king. I mentioned kings up to St. Paul. I guess you could argue what the king of ducks is. Yeah. But definitely canvasback's the king of Chesapeake Bay for sure.
Yeah. Well, and the king eiders up in St. Paul Island, like that's just on a different level altogether, right? Like, and that hunt is on a different level altogether. Like, you could get up to St. Paul Island and never actually even get out on the water to actually hunt. You know what I mean? Like,
you might get to Anchorage and maybe not even get out to St. Paul.
Yeah. So,
legitimately, a friend from between Baltimore and Washington, he went up this past January. They spent, I think it was 3 nights in the airport. They got out one day. He got off the plane, and he was lucky. He went and shot 4 eider. They got back on the plane and left. So
wow.
He sat. They just couldn't. Well, part of the problem is too. They used to have a daily flight back and forth. Now, I think it's like every other day or every third day is the flight. So they've changed that up a little bit too. But point being is, when I was there 10 years ago, it's a very, very windy place. Yeah. And we actually flew from Anchorage, went down to Cold Bay to refuel. They have enough fuel to get from Anchorage out to the islands, but they don't have if they can't land, they don't have enough to come back. So we went down Cold Bay, refuel, then we went out. And coming when we went to land, like, I'm looking out my window and I could see the runway. It was blown.
That's
it was blown pretty good.
Yeah, that's a little bit hairy, a little bit dicey, a little too dicey for me, I think.
It's a windy place, man. There's not a tree on the island. It's a big rock, and it's just like, it's the only place I've ever been where it was sunny, blowing, and snowing all at the same time.
Sounds like home.
Yeah, sounds a lot like Newfoundland. The saying is, you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes, it'll change. Yep. So what's new and what's coming up for Pitboss? Like, you had mentioned that when you had gotten in touch with Donald, and Donald said you got to learn the internet and you've got to get out there and I would hazard to say that you are probably one of the most active on social media, especially on Instagram. That's where I follow you all the time.
Thank you. Thank you for following. Appreciate it.
You are a very, very active business owner, individual, whatever title you want to say. How much, so I guess what I'm really getting at is we've always heard that the popularity in waterfowl hunting, especially here in Canada, it's been low for a number of years. And then when the Duck Dynasty show came out, we seen a spike in some numbers. But for you, and living down on the Chesapeake, which is a huge waterfowling place, how much has the internet and social media, how much has that boosted your business? I guess is that's a really long way to ask you that question.
No. I mean, I'd have to say it's 100% what's put me on the map. I mean, way back in the day, I mean, the Wildfowl magazine's still out there.
Yeah.
And I used to run an ad, and I could tell you, when the magazine, if I, I did subscribe to it at the time, but if I didn't, I could tell you when the magazine came out because I had emails, I had phone calls. But things change up. And one thing Donald did tell me, he's like, he says, you need it. It's like, it's going to be a good and a bad. It's going to be a positive and negative. It's going to be good and bad. He says it's going to be good because you're going to promote yourself. But when you promote yourself and you promote what you do, you have a whole bunch of other people that want to do the same thing.
That's right.
So he's like, it's that you kind of, it's like it's that sword you got to live with because you need it to survive. I needed to survive. Yeah. But at the same time, man, you have all these other people that want to do, oh, that looks easy, or I'll go buy a boat. I can do this, I can do that. And all of a sudden you do have it. And over this past season was my 20th season. And yeah, I mean, there's people that I can tell you that, didn't guide, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they've got boats, they've got this, they got that. And they're trying to do the same thing. So, yeah, I mean, social media or just the internet in general is a great thing. It's a great platform. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I mean, everybody watches what you do. So, it's kind of.
Yeah, and especially in a world today where everybody is looking for the next cause to jump on to start piss moaning about. Yeah, it can be a double-edged sword, that's for sure.
I don't run into too much negative like anti stuff. It's been a couple Christmases ago. I wasn't on my Facebook page. All of a sudden, I went and I had like a 3-star rating. I'm like, who did I upset? I went on. There was just a bunch of these antis that like a group of people went on and cussing me out and giving me a 1 star out of 5, and just telling you what they think of shooting animals. And that's really about the only time that I can say I've really run into an issue like that. Like I said, I've had people show up in the parking lot and say, I'm so-and-so from Instagram, I know where you hunt. I'm like, well, it is the ocean right there in a 16-foot John boat. Not an 18.5-foot John boat, a 16-foot John boat with a 25 Johnson. I'm like, you do know it's the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're good, and I never see them again, kind of thing. They don't come. So, but yeah, it is again. It is kind of that double-edged sword of like you need it, and it's something that I do use pretty heavily. But at the same time, I mean, people follow along with what you do.
So you got that advice back in the day. What kind of advice would you give now to someone that's trying to start? Like, I got a couple of young friends that want to be guides up here. What would you tell them? Get on the Instagram or
yeah,
TikTok?
I mean, I think, well, I mean, to me, Instagram fits me really well. TikTok, not so much. Karen, I know TikTok just kicked, Karen's always watching. I did open an account, but, I spend most of my time on Instagram. It just seems to be the best bang for, I'm gonna say my buck because I'm not paying for it, but the best bang for that. I've got my Facebook page hooked up to that, so I hit a button and whatever I post on Instagram goes on the business page. And I probably way back in the day I would have done things differently on Facebook. On a personal account, you can only have a maximum of 5,000 followers. So once you get to 5,000, you can't have any more followers. I didn't know that back in the day, so I was a little bit slow with the Pitboss page. I would have made maybe more of like kind of my Instagram page is kind of like everything that I do. I did start a business Pitboss page, and I think it's got like 20,000 followers, but I'm a little slower that was a little slower to start. So back in the day, I probably would have, if I knew better, I kind of would have, I wouldn't have focused on my personal page, but more of, on right. Facebook, but, Facebook on Instagram. So Instagram is, Instagram's made for your phone. I mean, I think, Karen is very able to look at Facebook, and I am too on my phone, but, I'd really rather, if I'm on Facebook, I'd really rather be on my computer. Whereas, Instagram is made for your phone. Things that are made for your phone, whatever you think that is, that's what I would suggest. And I think the other thing too is like I get emails quite a bit about younger guys asking about things that they can tell me they're this and they're that and they're this and they're that. But it's more, to me, it's more about people skills. Over the years, I've heard so many like horror stories where we were in a blind with this 20-year-old, and he jumps up, boom, 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 empties his gun, and then says, take, like, we're paying him to take us, and he's like trying to, out-hunt us, out-shoot us, I don't even take it's been years since I don't take a gun anymore. I take, I'm trying to take pictures, try to do video.
Right.
So, I mean, it's more of, I think, social media and work on your people skills, because it's about, it's about people skills, I think, especially if you want to be able to do it full time and you want to be able to charge, the premium rate. It's about a service. It's a service business is what it is, right? So you need to provide the service, and the service is not about how good you can shoot. Or, it may be good, how good you can call, but it's definitely not how good you can shoot, because it's about them shooting and not you. And so again, that would probably be my biggest piece of advice is like work on people skills.
I'm not, we're not into the guide business whatsoever, but from what I do know, and you sort of alluded to it, was that since the internet and everything, there are a lot more people out there doing it, right? So
A lot of options.
there's a lot of options. So you need to make it an experience, and having the people skills is what's going to help you make it that experience. I'm sure, and I'm not taking anything away from you, Jeff, but I'm sure there's fellas down in your area that can put paying customers on birds, but they may not get the exact same experience that you're going to provide them.
And they're doing it at a lower cost too. So.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, man, it's just been, I had, you mentioned the name Banks. I don't say that name too often anymore, but you mentioned it. So in 2004, I had the first 21-foot boat, and there weren't any 21-foot boats. And all of a sudden, just in Maryland, there's 6 of them. So we get it closer to 2010. I was like, hey, man, I need to kind of stay ahead of the curve a little bit, right? So I bought it in 2010. I bought it the first 25 he bought. And just like with the boat I'm looking at right now, I mean, it was the same kind of thing where, I've known Steve for years, and he's always told me he was going to have me one of his boats. And I was like, yeah, I'm happy with my fiberglass kind of thing. And then I was like, I heard, like, what's this world's largest duck boat? Tell me more about that. So yeah, to me, it's kind of like about staying ahead of the curve a little bit. It is about the service that you offer. And I added a core sound. At the same time, I added a 2-man core sound layout boat. And I got to say, man, Terry Rose makes an awesome boat. And again, it's a service. It truly is, because what you just said, I won't say that anybody can do it, but pretty much anybody can go shoot Scoter, right?
Yeah.
You could shoot Scoter 18.5-foot John boat, right?
Yeah.
And maybe not every day. As soon as it blows a little bit, maybe you have to pick your days, but you can go out in it, in that boat and do it. So again, it's about showing somebody. Not to get too deep into it, but I think it's like the value of what you're offering to them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is 100%. And we've all done it. We've went on guided hunts, and the pile of birds is nice, but the stories and the pictures and to be able to sit aboard a ridiculous boat and fucking waves coming crashing in over, and your beard is icy, and that's the experience, right? And that's what, in my opinion, that's what I'm paying for. It may suck at the moment, but it is creating the best memories that you'll have when you're hunting, right? So it comes down to that. Mark, I know me and Dave have been sort of kind of bending Jeff's ear, and I know you probably got some stuff. So again, I'll shut up for a little bit.
Yeah, I do have some. The puffin decoys you're making. Are you still in the process of making those? Do you have any complete ones?
I do not have any complete, man. It's been this last 3 weeks. It's just been this big juggle. Before I took a shower, man, I was on my hands and knees putting grout on these 6-inch by 24-inch tiles. So it's kind of, I carved some, and Karen's been off for 5 days, so we did tile. And the past 2, she went back. So yesterday I worked more on the big foamzillas. I worked on those, and and partly too with the puffin, it's more for fun, something I wanted to do. Where I do have a rig of wood duck that somebody wants and is paying me to do. And I've got a rig of bluebill out there too that, again, the wood ducks are going to go here local in Maryland. The bluebill are going in North Carolina, but those will, I will work the puffin in, but I haven't got much further on it.
So the reason I'm interested in that one is because that's the provincial bird of Newfoundland.
Is it? Cool. Very nice.
Yes, it is. And when you're complete, are you going to make like a number of those, or are you just?
Yeah, I think I've got maybe eight bodies cut out.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind reserving one.
Well, thank you. I don't know that it'll happen. I can't guarantee, just because things we've talked about with being able to get in Canada and that type of stuff. And things we say, hey, we want to do some, we want to do that. But supposedly in February, we're gonna go to Newfoundland and we want to try to shoot later. So maybe if I do make that trip, I can bring one along with me. I know I know you said it's a little island. To me, it looks like it's a pretty big island. So
It's a really big island, yeah.
It is a big island. Like I said, it's mostly to do with the population. But yeah, I never even seen that. I didn't know you were making puffins. So yeah, the largest colony nesting grounds in North America is in just on the east coast of Newfoundland, up around Cape St. Mary's. So it is, yeah, it is the provincial bird, and yeah. So that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Thank you. Back in the my decoy show days, there was a show, Westlake, Ohio. They had and other shows have kind of taken it over where they do this now too. But specifically, Westlake they had single contests, but they had a rig contest. And I always wanted, they have a confidence bird. And I always wanted to make puffins for that show, and I just never ever did. And I don't know. I was, I'm big ideas, right? I'm always telling Karen, hey, I want to do this. Hey, I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And just this much, fraction of it gets done. But I don't know. Back in March or April, I was like, I gotta do a puffin this year. And I know I had a pattern. I was texting my good friend Tom Matus. He's in Boise, Idaho. I was like, Tom, tmdecoys.com. I'm sorry, at tmdecoys on Instagram. Check him out. He is an artist. He is very, very talented. And I just texted him real quick. The other thing, he's very, very helpful. Texted him. I was like, hey Tom, have you ever made do you have a puffin pattern? I want to make a puffin. He's like, give me an hour. And he drew this thing up for me, and he said, here you go, man. He texted to me. He had his what was an inch on there. He said, just blow it up. That's make that an inch. You'll be perfect. Perfect. And he drew it right up for me. So I did make a couple different heads from his pattern. But yeah, I just reached out to him real quick. I was like, hey Tom, he's done books, and he is nonstop carving. And I was like, hey, have you ever done a puffin, or you have a puffin pattern? He's like, well, you caught me on a good day. He says, give me an hour. And bam, drew up a puffin pattern into it. So
there's a decoy carving competition going on right now on Facebook, through Decoy Talk.
Really? I missed that if it is.
Yeah, it's on Decoy Talk. James Patrick Truly, sorry if I said his name wrong, but he's kind of doing it's a black duck. You should
okay.
you should take the time and enter one.
I'll check that.
You should.
Hey, back real quick. When you say that, back to social media, like I do. Like Karen is very much into Facebook. I've made an effort maybe in the last 2 months to really be more interactive on Facebook. But I think it's been 2 years ago. I had 2 fathers, 2 sons. The sons were like 15, 16, and they follow along with me, and they're like, hey, tell Jeff what you think about Facebook. They're like, Facebook's for old people. They're like, their Instagram's where it's at. So like it kind of helped me. It was like, yeah, like I'm just going to concentrate on Instagram, and you could tell me, well, 15 and 16-year-olds don't have the money to go, but I'll get phone calls from the father saying, my son has wore me out. He follows me all the time. This is what he wants to go do. I got to book a hunt because he just, so it all goes, it's all positive. But again, like if you have one thing to do, I think you need to pick the thing that, again, gives your biggest bang for your buck. And in my mind, the buck is your time.
Yeah. So it was about 6 months ago or 8 months ago, September 15th there's a youth hunt in Ontario, and
right.
I took a couple youth out, and one of the dads that was there, he's a big tattoo artist, and he's telling me, man, you got to blow this up. Like, I'm like, yeah, I got Instagram for my duck calls, and I got Facebook and all that stuff. He's like, no, man, you got to get on TikTok. That's going to be it. In 6 months, you watch. Sure as shit. Like, you look at TikTok now, Tony Vandemore's got it. Like, all these other hunters, they're getting into it. It's like, oh my goodness, like maybe he was onto something, but I just can't take myself to make a TikTok video. Like I wear too many clothes.
I couldn't do it.
Many clothes.
No, I'm not allowed to. Oh, I'm not allowed to do it, but I shouldn't do it.
Again, my wife's a big follower of it, and I do listen, and she'll say, "Hey, look at this, look at that," and it's just not. I don't know. Maybe once duck season's here, maybe I'll try to. Maybe I'll try to do some videos. I would tell you though, and this is me painting with the broad brush, but from what I see, the general crowd on TikTok is not going to like seeing animals.
Yeah, no.
Blood and stuff getting blown up. I mean, it's
well,
just,
I tell you what, if I I'm much like you. My wife watches it and then she shows me something. But if I see you come this fall doing one of those fucking dances on your boat, then I'm a believer then. If I see you dancing on your boat, I'm doing a TikTok page. That's it.
His fucking boat's big enough to dance on, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Not like it's an 18.5 footer that you can't dance on.
Have a dance party.
She's usually sitting right here. She's not. There was something I did the other day, and I started. I don't know if I was singing something or I did. She's like, "You might need to do a TikTok video."
That's awesome. We do have to try and figure it out. So we have a major problem here in Canada, and not so much a major problem for Merck, because Merck doesn't drink, but for Dave and I, and that major problem is this here, and we are absolutely in love with this stuff, and we cannot get it in Canada. Can you believe that? Like, this stuff is not in Canada.
I do know, again, like, so when I go to PEI, there, and maybe, I don't know, I'm ignorant to how Providence's work, but I mean, it seems to be in PEI, they are PEI, like, government liquor stores, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and they like I said, the huge bottle of Crown, I've never, in a store down here, like, I even was with Karen, I was like, wow, look at that bottle. Is that like a blow up thing? Or is that a prop? Is that like something to, I went over there and I knocked on it. I was like, it's real. They just didn't have one. They had, Canadian Club. Some kind of a gin. They had many big bottles, but down here, that would kind of be like the blow up or a plastic thing sitting over in the corner where, it was real. But anyway, I do notice there is differences, from what they have. And even when Jeff comes down, yeah, it is different from there are many differences for sure.
Yeah, I really do not, and we, Dave, I believe between yourself, Phil, and I, we need to start this online petition and figure out a way that we can peer pressure Bird Dog into importing into Canada, because I love the stuff. I just had a buddy that was down in Nashville a few months ago, and that's what he brought me back a bottle. So anytime that you're passing through Canada, we'll do a Crown for Bird Dog swap.
There you go.
Yeah.
The bottle I picked up the other day is a little different than that. It's more of a round, and I don't know if it's like, I can't remember if it's a small batch bottle, but my local store here, and he's got a really good selection, and he said somebody had ordered a case.
Oh, look at that.
That's a small batch bottle.
Is it? Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Well, my bottle is different than the one you just showed me there. But he said, hey, I got this case in, and I was like, we're just I keep kind of stretching out. Karen, I like Crown Black, and I like it with the best IPA ice I can find. So basically, it's kind of the joke. It's some kind of a certification on ice, and it's called ice food. But Karen drinks everything neat, and she's probably a little bit more into bourbon than Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace would probably be her favorite, I think. But I don't know if I can see her in there, but she's drinking Crown Black right at the moment. Neat. But we've been just reaching out to find these other different old Granddad 114s. One we picked up the other day that was really good. A McKenna, excuse me. That's another good one. And I tell you, when I went into Cheers the other day, it was a little on the early side, but he says, you want to try some bourbon? I was like, sure. Yeah. So he put it in paper cup. I'm not going to show you what it is. He says, I want you to try it. So smell it. Smells pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah. I think I like that. He's like, how much do you think that would be? I said, I don't know, maybe like $30 for $7.50, something like that. Well, anyway, come to find out, and we do not drink Jim Beam. It was Jim Beam Black, and it's $24 for a $7.50, and it was really good. So we're just always looking for just to kind of expand our taste, or at least to get something to say that we've tried it. That said, maybe it's not a good thing to admit, but the Crown Black, we buy cases of 175 cases all the time. So Crown Black is our kind of our go-to.
That's awesome.
Those big Texas mixies that you got, right? When you come up to Canada.
That was just Crown.
Yeah, but those big Texas Mickeys, we use those at Stag and Does up here, right? And you put it down, and then everyone stands on the other side of the arena floor and throws a toonie at it, and the closest toonie wins the whole bottle, right? It's kind of a neat.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not meant for just one person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in our case, it was a little different. We were there. I guess we were there 7 nights or so, and we did have help. Just wasn't caring of myself, but stayed in a nice cottage, and I think the majority of it was gone when we hit it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we can't get up here in Canada. Like I think it's called Screwball. It's like a peanut butter whiskey or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of guys talking about that, but I don't think we can get it either. So
here's a little crown trivia for you guys. Have you ever seen Crown Bourbon Mash?
No.
No, it's in a brown bottle, and I saw it the last time I was up there. Anyway, long story short, in the U.S., it's illegal to sell because it's not. You can't have anything that says bourbon on it if it's not a true bourbon. And it said bourbon mash, so I went and got. They in the States they change it to Blender's Mash, but in Canada it still says bourbon mash.
Wow. There you go, so. Jeff. Without continuing too far off on our topic here, why don't you?
We just went way off.
Hey, which is good because I truly do believe that our listeners do enjoy a good lesson on whiskey. So, but tell us. We've talked a lot about you personally and growing up and your morals and what's gotten you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the experience that Pitboss Waterfowl actually, gives to their client, your accommodations from start to finish. Give us an idea of what a hunt looks like with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. I mean, I do my best, again, just to be full service. I don't have a lodge, but at the same time, in Ocean City in the wintertime, and it's a ghost town, I've got, you can stay anywhere you want, but at the same time, you call the microtel and talk to Jen. She knows me. Bam. You'll get a contractor's rate. That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I know all the good places. Again, like I said about seafood, that good places to eat that seems to be high on everybody's list when they come here. Like, man, can we get some seafood? But regardless of that, usually a trip with me. I talked to 2 people today on the phone, so we've talked in advance. Lots of questions. The one fellow today, he's been going to Arkansas. He says he's shot enough puddle ducks. He's kind of on the quest to shoot, kind of a Drake of everything. So it turned into a little bit more of like, kind of a bucket list hunt or, a bird, check off the list kind of thing. So he's looking to get, his biggest bang for his buck as far as, the variety of birds that he can get here when he, for mounting and collecting. But anyway, so it starts in advance. But generally, typically, I would meet you about an hour and a half before sunrise. As long as it's not too windy, the one ramp that I like to use, it's 3 blocks away. So everything's kind of close and convenient. Running out right out in the Atlantic Ocean. The Delaware Bay to our north, the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay and Virginia to our south. There's really nothing sitting where I take you, and they're traveling birds. And more likely than not, I mean, everything doesn't decoy, but man, 60-70% of what flies by, they're just stopping to take a break. When they land, if you don't shoot them, they're not like diving looking for food. It's like they're just taking a break because they've been flying for 2 hours, kind of thing,
Right.
But it's just the limit. So I ramble too much. I'm sorry.
No,
but
go
for
it, buddy.
Way back in the day, it was a 107-day season. So this is the 5th season of the new reduced, only 60 days. So it used to open early October, go to the end of January. Now it opens, this year it'll be November 1st, and it goes to the 2nd Friday in January.
Oh, wow.
So they've kind of combined that up a little bit. Flyway wide, it was a 7 bird limit with no more than 4 scoter. Now they've dropped the total bag limit down to 5 birds with no more than 4 of anything. So now back in the old days when it was a 7 bird limit, you could shoot, if you had a good spot, you could shoot 7 old squaw, you could shoot 7 eider. You just couldn't, from that 7, you just couldn't have more than 4 scoter. Now it's 4, you can't have more than 4 of anything. So you got to shoot, if you want to shoot 5, you've got to shoot an eider or you got to shoot an old squaw, at least 1 to get that. But it's a very social hunt. We go out and put all the birds out on long lines. I always anchor from the stern, so I'm upwind. Usually the bow gets the best shot. When they come to the decoys, if they don't come up, they cut across the bow for them. I've got only really 2 soups that I like to make: a Maryland crab soup, which is kind of a really good vegetable, red based vegetable soup that has a lot of our blue crab meat in it, and then a cream of crab. So really good cream recipe that has a lot of crab meat in it. Sometimes I'll put some mussel in it. Sometimes I'll put some clam in it. But just to kind of get you over the hump, maybe if it's a little on the cool side that morning, put something a little warm in you. There's a little lull in the action. Again, just kind of get you over the hump. And much like I'm rambling on with you guys, man, I talk nonstop. So if you're into talking, I will tell you pretty much, whatever the topic is. And at the same time, there's certain groups that like I can just sit there and be quiet, not say a word, and they do their own thing, and that's what they're into too. So, getting back to being the people person, it's easy to kind of read who and what, and again, the person who booked the hunt, they've kind of already told me what the situation is, who it is. It's father bringing his sons, or it's guys that they're 70 years old and have hunted together forever, or they're 20 years old and they're just starting to hunt together all the time, kind of thing. So, it's generally I just have lots of questions about the birds themselves. Maybe some why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why are we here? Hey, tell me about the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Hey, tell me about the Chesapeake Bay. Hey, tell me about Ocean City. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of talking. I almost feel like I've become like the cruise director. And generally when people travel, it's a 3-day license. So when people travel, they're here for 3 days, and I can set them up on a little public hunt on their own. Black ducks is a really big deal for guys that travel. Again, the group from Georgia I just talked with, black ducks on their list. So if he shoots a scoter with me in the morning, more than likely he's still got one bird to shoot. So I can hook them up on some public property where they can go and gun the afternoon on their own. Again, I just try to set them up with the Havre de Grace Decoy Museum, the Ward Brother Museum in Salisbury. So there's a lot here to take. So, but generally and typically, man, I just want people to have fun. It's a very social. I think that sea ducks is a very social experience. Often I'm saying like slow down. I mean, it's not like wood ducks and it's a half an hour shooting and it's done. This as it gets brighter, it only gets better. So
that's right.
You don't have to shoot your limit guys out of this one bunch. Like slow down.
The one thing I do like about those birds is that they're always on the move, like constantly. They'll pick up, move, like like you said, it's not like you got that witching hour and then everything is done. It could turn in. You could be in for a lot longer hunt than just that that initial 45 minutes.
Yeah, especially for where I'm at with Scoter. Now I've been places up north of me where we've shot eider, and like you better be ready to shoot the eider in that like first hour, because when they at least the spots that I've been at, when they sit down, that's where they're sitting, kind of thing. Whereas it is like sometimes in the morning, 9 and 10 o'clock is better than first light, just because there's more birds. Depends on what time of the year it is, and depends on where they're at. But they've been flying for 2 hours, so it's just, and again, those birds at 9 or 10 o'clock, man, you don't have to do anything, and if you don't shoot, they all landed.
Now, I saw on your website, it says on the left-hand side, you got like your dates and what animals you can get, what species you can get, right? You've got like your brant and your whatever. And I noticed that you've got one that says ducks, coots, and mergansers. Have you ever had someone call you up and say, fuck, buddy, I want to shoot a limit of mergansers today? Have you ever had that?
No. Can you get me a mature red-breasted merganser?
Really?
They only need to shoot one. But again, it's guys are traveling. They don't need to shoot they don't need to shoot a limit of anything, but they want one good bird to get the picture with, to get it mounted, to say they shot. So yes, I have had people say, hey, can you get me to me, the 3 mergansers, a hooded merganser here on the saltwater would be in the marsh, kind of thing. Not we won't see them open water, but they're kind of up in the marsh. The common, like the town of Havre de Grace, the Susquehanna, where that freshwater, saltwater, that's where you're going to find all your commons. But on the saltwater here, I mean, it's red-breasted mergansers. Same kind of thing. Where like I truly don't shoot bufflehead. I would not go. I personally wouldn't go hunt bufflehead. But somebody from the south that never seen a bufflehead, they want to shoot a bufflehead. So it's I guess what it becomes is, and I used this before, like everything becomes relative of what you've done and what you have, than what you don't have.
That's so funny, because up here I would hunt buffies up here, but I'll never admit to hunting a merganser.
Yeah.
But
We've got a guy.
Yeah.
we've got a friend that, like, he keeps saying he wants to do Merc beatdown and like go after, and it's a running thing. Like, if we go out hunting and there's a Merc coming in, my gun gets set down, and like, if someone shoots it, it's like, fuck, that's yours. You're eating it. Like, no, right? Like, so when I saw it on your website, I was like, that's pretty neat. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I guess it
Never-
is. It all comes back to being relative, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I've never had somebody ask me for a coot, but definitely mergansers for sure.
Well,
But a quick, I'll make it quick. I really will. Good friend, the real estate. If you follow along, Curtis Campbell takes me fishing quite a bit. We caught some tuna this year, white marlin, all that type of stuff. Well, where he's at on Chesapeake Bay, it's all it is bufflehead. I mean, they don't shoot bufflehead, right? So they travel to the Gulf Coast of Texas to shoot redheads. He's like, Jeff, it's the most incredible thing. There's just redheads everywhere. And he's like, we're shooting them, and it's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us, a group of 5 or 6 guys. And he's like, we're shooting them, and the guy just letting the dog pick them up. And he's like, man, these things are beautiful, just beautiful drakes. He said, my buddy Steve on the end pulls up and he shoots this drake bufflehead. He says the guy starts beating on his dog, runs out there and comes back and says, who's going to mount this bird? And they're like, what are you talking about? Look at the stud, man. He says, we started laughing. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, that guy never, he never sees a bufflehead, right?
Yeah.
And Curtis is like, we shoot buffalo. We don't shoot buffalo. There's so many buffalo. We don't shoot them. We came here to shoot redhead because that's what you have. But the guide was so many redheads, like he didn't really care about the redheads. The dog's picking them up, and but when somebody shot the buffalo, he was like, Curtis, he's like beating on his dog, racing out there to get this thing so the dog didn't chew it up, brings it back and holds it and says, who's going to get this mounted? And like,
wow.
None of us are getting that thing mounted. but it's all relative, is what my point is.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Jeff, we cannot thank you enough for taking time. And I know you're a busy man, and especially, you've got your floor torn up down there, and you took some time out to come sit down with us, and you really don't know how much it means to us for you to come on this show. It really is a bunch of fellas that love one another's company. We love doing something for our community, and we hold strong to our morals. And to have a gentleman like yourself, who I would say is very much in tune with our views, it really means a lot. And I honestly do mean it when I say that I believe that you're a celebrity in the waterfowl world, which makes us almost, when this is all over, we're all going to be giggling like little girls and everything. So we'll let the boys go around one last time around the table. Any last minute questions? Because I know you're busy and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But Merc, anything, buddy?
Appreciate you coming on, Jeff, and I'm dead serious. You get those puffins done, I would love to have them.
We'll get done. I will get that done. It may be the last thing I get done this year, but they will be done.
Yeah, whenever.
Thank you.
Dave?
Jeff, thanks for coming on. I don't think people realize, like, as you say, like, you got all these big dreams and stuff, but at the end of the day, anytime I've sent you a message on Instagram or even YouTube, you probably don't even know that I'm sending you a message there, but you've always been willing to help. And I just wanted to say thank you. And from everyone else that gets all from you, thank you for that. Right. It's good. And
very kind. Thank you. I mean, it really, good.
Hopefully when I get a decoy made, I'll tag you in it and you can comment on how fucking shitty my paint job is.
I'll definitely take a look at it. Thank you very much. I mean, it spins back to Donald, man. He was very open and very helpful to me back in the day. And in today's time, like, we all are busy, right? And anybody that takes the time, and I know I'm sure I miss things occasionally here, and I usually say, hey, I'm sorry, I missed this, and I try to answer whatever they ask. But I mean, I always try to make the effort. If somebody took the time, they're following along with what I'm doing, and they took the time to comment or ask a question or whatever, I always try to answer.
Well, I think, I can't say enough good things about, and again, and I can't stress enough how happy we are to have you on, and I can't wait until tomorrow that I can make the post tomorrow on my Instagram that you were on the show, and just so usually what'll happen, I'll make the post tomorrow that we recorded the show with you, and then the following Monday I'll put the link up so that the interview is live on YouTube and on Shopify and all that good stuff. So I can't wait to put all our ugly mugs on the internet tomorrow. And again, Jeff, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I hope that maybe towards the end of your waterfowl season, you'd come back on and let us know how it went. And hopefully, you know what, someday I'd love to come down and have some crab soup and do a dance for TikTok with you.
Yeah, man. We can all do one. We can all do one.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. You do not know how much it means to me. And I'm serious when I say that Mark, Dave, Ryan, or Phil, or myself, whenever we extend the invitation out to anybody to come on the show, it's always yes. We've never heard a no yet. And you don't know how much it means to us from our humble beginnings. And here we are recording our 12th episode, and it's only growing from here. So again, thank you so much for watching. This is awesome. I love it. I can't believe that we did this show tonight. Stay tuned. More and more to come. Big love,
guys,
everybody.
Thank you very much. And I wish you guys the most success too, man. Just keep at it and keep going, and things work out.
Thank you so much. Big love, everybody.